Joining us now for an in-depth explanation on all of this is our John Decker. John, thank you so much for your time and joining us here on This Is Now. First off, can you tell us how strong of a case is this?
Well, of course, we only have one side, and that's the side that's presented by the special counsel, Jack Smith. But reading through this 45-page indictment, it's a pretty straightforward indictment that spells out a narrative that puts the former president in a very bad position. Why is that? It's because of the mountain of evidence that the special counsel clearly has as it relates to prosecuting this case. Emails and text messages and phone logs, even the contemporaneous notes of the former Vice President Mike Pence are mentioned in this particular indictment, and that does not necessarily mean that that's all the evidence that the special counsel has in terms of prosecuting this case against the former president. On top of that, Dylan, you also have to factor in the jurisdiction where this criminal case will take place. It's right here in Washington, D.C., and that is not a favorable jurisdiction to the former president. And the reason for that is the last presidential election. Here in Washington, 95% of registered voters voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump in the 2020 election. So that's the jury pool that Donald Trump and his lawyers will be contending with.
And John, we understand there are some possible co-conspirators in this case. Tell us about them.
Well, that's right. They're unindicted co-conspirators, and they're not named specifically in this 45-page indictment. But reading through the indictment and the context of it, you can figure out who some of those unindicted co-conspirators are, including unindicted co-conspirator number one. That would be Rudy Giuliani, the former personal lawyer to the former president. He carried out this scheme, according to the indictment, to put forward a fake slate of electors to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election. There's a Justice Department official who ran the environmental division at the Justice Department, who also is an unindicted co-conspirator. There's two outside lawyers not employed by the Department of Justice or the White House counsel's office that are also among those unindicted co-conspirators. They may or may not be charged by the grand jury, but it's clear that this was a conspiracy, according to the special counsel, that was very far-reaching.
And John, what can we expect in news of tomorrow? Is anything expected to happen then?
Yes, tomorrow, Dylan, we will see the first appearance of Donald Trump related to this criminal case against him. He will have his arraignment tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. At that time, he will enter into the courthouse. He will surrender. He will be arrested. He will be arraigned. He will be processed. And then he will, in the courtroom, have the charges read to him, asks if he understands them, and then he will be asked to enter a plea. He'll enter a plea of not guilty, and then he will be released on his own recognizance. So it's another instance where the former president, for the third time in 4 months, is going through this process of being arraigned, being arrested. This is unprecedented, and tomorrow will be another unusual, historic day as it relates to the former president.
And John, one last question for you. For the average voter, all of this may be very confusing for them to keep up with. If you could just summarize everything that has happened so far. As you've heard, this isn't the first time this has happened, but some voters may be asking, how can he face all these criminal charges and still be in the running for president? What should the average voter take away from all of these troubles?
Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that bars Donald Trump in any way from running for president. It's going to be a difficult task for him next year in the sense that he has to balance his run for the Republican nomination, all the primaries, the caucuses, the debates, along with all of the criminal matters, which now have court dates. At least two of them do. One in March of next year, one in May of next year. And we'll get a court date for this one as well. This likely will also take place in 2024. So he's got a lot on his plate as he runs for president of the United States. And, you know, look, I guess he thinks that he can handle all of these competing factors at the same time. But I think even one criminal matter would be a lot for any individual. He is facing the possibility of 4 criminal cases in 2024 while he's running for president.
Definitely a lot to keep track of. Our John Decker in Washington, D.C., thank you so much for joining us here on This Is Now.